Welcome to this Wednesday evening edition of Sunset News. In this half-hour program, we bring you the latest local and international news, stories from the community, economic indicators, tomorrow's weather and sports. I am Aina Raiza Kweyo. In the news tonight, access to information is growing international and continental and regional concerns, and it is a subject of which African states are increasingly undertaking legislative action with an understanding that freedom of expression is a fundamental human right. This was said by Maria Erago, the Deputy Chairperson of the Parliamentary Standing Committee in the Information, Communication, Technology and Innovation on the presentation of the report of the Access to Information Bill to Parliament. The bill aims to promote transparency, accountability, and effective governance of all public and private institutions by establishing procedures to enable seekers of information to obtain records held by the state institution and private bodies to speedily and reasonably as possible. Recommendations include closing any loopholes, preventing any access to information in order to empower communities with timely, adequate, accurate information. Regional councils, local authorities, chief and other traditional leaders should all serve as information officers. In our next story, Namibia was dealt a hefty blow when international credit rating agency Moody's downgraded the country to B1 today. This means that there is, according to an analyst, a higher than average risk that government may not be able to honor bonds or other financial obligations. Namibia's rating was already negative before the change, but was considered stable. In its first reaction this morning, Simonis Storm Security called it the worst rating on the record for Namibia. Now we move on to our next story. Today, the Minister of Environment, Forestry and Tourism, Pohamba Shifeta, announced that no more timber will leave Namibia without having been processed. Only furniture products made by benefiting community is allowed to be exported. The money should be kept within the community. He said so when attending the launch of the new documentary film titled The Forest of a Desert Land. It is a production supported by the MEFT and the Hans Sidel Foundation, depicting three stories of people who live in the forest and fear for its continued existence. Let's have a look at this video.
It's new at the box stage. So he decided to work hard and to make sure that this is our timber. You see that? Here, very strong. It's our timber from our forest. And I want to reiterate my point that those who were saying we still export timber, that is not even permissible in our law. And we want to tighten the law much more, that anything that is to be exported here, timber products must be completely finished product. Chairs like this. No more timber in the form of semi or unprocessed. And that will make sure that nothing. So timbers that you see, and every month almost people see this timber transported to a harbor. You know, these are from the landlocked or from maybe Angola they want to transport through here. But not ours, they are just in transit. So they use our port to export from their countries, not from. So what we are going to do, and the director would like to demonstrate that he started with vigor. So during our tourism expo, I said we must have, you will see now our product that our community forest produce better and better. They will demonstrate chairs, school chairs and the school tables and the office tables and chairs, and he promised that he would do it during the expo or at any occasion, just to demonstrate that we can do better. Our communities can produce, they harvest sustainably from their community forests, because these are community forests, and then they can now sell to schools. And these are very strong, these are cheap, very strong. For 100 years, you don't need to buy a table. It's not this what we import. We're importing those paper tables and chairs. Even with a pen, you just do this. But you come and demonstrate it, you will not be able to do what you do to those chairs. In fact, what you import is upfront. It's not proper timber. Our timber, we shouldn't export it, we must use it. So we will spare more money. It means that we'll save more money.
The Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, commented on the interim report that was launched by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, deviating from his diplomatic approach that he is known for. He referred to a litany of broken climate promises made by governments, organizations, and international business communities. He rubbished assurance by many that they are on track towards limiting future global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. The highly qualified panel of scientists that compiled the IPCC report seeks a clear language. If the world does not act right now, global warming will soar to 3 degrees Celsius. In our next story, Mines and Energy Minister Tom Alwendo says although Namibia has only 10% equity share in oil discovered off its west coast, conservative estimates by government shows that the country stands to benefit up to 55% of revenues generated from the operations. The paltry equity share has caused pandemonium in the country since its announcement, compounded by the President of Namibia, His Excellency Hage Geingob's consistent remark that the oil is not ours. But speaking in the Agenda interview, which airs on Sunday on Network TV and the Namibian Sun Facebook pages on Sunday, Alwendo said that what should matter to Namibia is how much the country will get from the resources rather than the equity the country has. Now, moving right along, the Ministry of Health has been advised to address a governance issue related to its procurement practices in rein in heavy spending on pharmaceuticals and clinic supply by the Ministry of Finance Procurement Policy Unit. The action had been prompted by the continuous practice of buying overpriced medications and other clinical supplies significantly contributed to the central medical stores regularly running low or out of medicine and other health supplies, a study by the PPU found. Now, in Community Talk tonight, we focus on the newly unveiled Keetmanshoop COVID-19 Memorial and flood warnings for Namibia. Stay with us. Welcome back to Sunset News. A memorial with the names of 70 Keetmanshoop residents who lost their lives to COVID-19 was unveiled at the town over the weekend. Monique Adams was there.
Unveiling ceremony of the COVID-19 Memorial today here in Central Park. COVID-19 came like a thief in the night and stole our beloved ones and our joy. Happy, healthy, productive members of society, gone in a blink of an eye. What made us even worse was the fact that none of them, the comforting rituals that helped us to cope with the loss, were available to us. No final rites, no burial stories and love. Families gathered around to offer support. It was a time of profound loss and profound trauma. Which is why, Mr. Heiner Naumann, I want to extend a special word of welcome to you for the donation that made the construction of this memorial possible.
That separates us now. Dis net tyd wat nou vir my van my ma en my broer afdeel, because in due time I know that I will be reunited with my loved ones. May God bless us. May He strengthen us. May God use us for His purpose. May we be living testimonies of the great God that we serve. God says in His word, His grace is sufficient.
The Namibian Hydrological Services have issued a flood warning to communities living in low-lying areas following heavy showers in certain areas of the country. Jerin Half reports.
The Namibian Hydrological Services, or HSN, has advised communities living in flood-prone areas around the country to be on high alert for possible floods and to take necessary precautions. The HSN issued this warning in its daily flood bulletin earlier this week, stating that contingency planning for flood mitigation and recovery should be activated for flood-prone areas. The bulletin said that the Zambezi River maintains its steady rise and recorded 5.05 meters, while flood alert and readiness is advised for the eastern Zambezi floodplains. The Kavango River has increased from 5.74 meters to 5.88 since last Friday, recording a higher river level compared to last year. According to the HSN, the Fish River decreased to 0.39 meters, while the lower Orange River recorded 2.3 meters with a flow of 966.2 cubic meters per second. The bulletin further indicates that the water level in some central Kuvalai areas are increasing, rising by 9 centimeters due to localized rain received over the past weekend and recording 0.47 meters on Monday. The flow in the Kunene River increased to 249.4 cubic meters. Meanwhile, dam operators are also advised to upscale flood control management for flood risk mitigation and issue timely warnings to communities living downstream. The total content of the country's major water supply dams stands at 84.5%, while the southern dam levels remain high, with Hardap currently at 72.6%, Nekatol at 100%, and Nauta at 106.7%.
In our story of the day, we look at the rent control bill. Stay with us.
Go far with Paratus. Go further with Paratus Fiber. Paratus offering high-speed, reliable fiber connectivity, starting from only $599 Namibian dollars per month. Unlimit your lifestyle and visit na.paratus.africa for more information.
Always prepared. Paratus.
This is Sunset News, and we are back with the story of the day. The Ministry of Urban and Rural Development is facing the law after the affirmative reposition movement dragged them to court and wants the rent control bill to be implemented as a matter of urgency. Let's have a look.
The affirmative reposition movement has called on the Ministry of Urban and Rural Development to finalize the rent control bill as a matter of urgency. According to the AR spokesperson Simon Amunime, the movement, through its legal department, has filed a court case against the ministry regarding the pending tabling of the bill, stressing that the exploitation of tenants through high rent prices is a ticking bomb. He says it is long overdue and must be dealt with immediately. It is a matter of implementation because consultations were already made. There is a charter and rent control board committees have been established in different regions and towns. In late 2020, the Ministry of Industrialization handed over the Rent Control Board functions to the Ministry of Urban and Rural Development. Industrialization Minister explained that the Rent Control Board mandate is to consolidate and amend the laws on the control of rent payable in respect of leased dwellings and the periods of notice with which lessors of business premises and dwellings shall comply. The board, however, is still not operational since it was established following cabinet approval back in 2015.
In economic news, we look at Namibia's vulnerabilities to inflation increases due to high imports. Thank you very much for watching Sunset News tonight. Namibia imports most of its products and thus will remain vulnerable to imported inflation as a result of ongoing supply disruptions. Elevated global commodity prices will keep imported merchandise goods prices high, adding to local inflationary pressure. During February 2022, Namibia's exports earnings stood at 5.7 billion Namibian dollars, while imports stood at 9.6 billion Namibian dollars, lending to a trade deficit of 3.8 billion Namibian dollars. Philippanus Usiku reports. Now, coming up next, let's have a look at your economic indicators. The Namibian dollar is up against the US dollar, euro and British pound as it holds its ground next to the Chinese yuan. Most stock on the NSX held were unyielding, while Namibia Breweries stock took a 0.01% dip. Both the local index and overall index closed down by 0.35% and 1.05% respectively. Looking at commodities, gold is up by 0.3% and Brent crude oil took another plunge, this time by 0.8%. Now, coming up next, right after the break, we take a look at tomorrow's weather predictions. Stay with us. Welcome back to Sunset News, and here is the weather prediction for tomorrow. Enana in the north is the hottest at 37 degrees. Windhoek varies between 15 and 29 degrees. Gobabis in the east will be 15 and 29 degrees as well. The south of Namibia is a little cooler, with Rehoboth and Mariental at 32 degrees, with them being the hottest places rather. The central coast varies between 14 and 22 degrees. Now, in our international news slot, we look at COVAX and the African Union declining to buy more doses of Moderna's COVID shots. Stay with us.
Have you received a loan from NASFAF?
NASFAF loan is the same as any other loan. It must be paid and settled. NASFAF has a set of guidelines on how you can repay your loan and become debt-free. Therefore, it is important that you, a former beneficiary and a responsible Namibian, show your patriotism by helping pay back your loan and thus helping NASFAF become a revolving fund for the benefit of future potential students. By failing to pay back your NASFAF loan, you risk being blacklisted or having a court order against you. So arrange with the fund to pay back your loan today. For more information on how you can repay your loan, visit our website at www.nasfaf.na or visit our Facebook page or Twitter. Do the right thing and hashtag #paybackthemoney.
Welcome back to Sunset News. COVAX, the global project to share COVID-19 vaccine, and the African Union have declined options to buy additional doses of Moderna's mRNA.0 shots as developing nations struggle to allocate supplies. The Global Alliance did not exercise the option of 166 million doses of shots for the third quarter of 2022, as well as for 166 million doses in the fourth quarter, which expired on the 1st of April, a Moderna spokesperson said. COVAX, which is backed by Gavi, the World Health Organization, and the Coalition for Pandemic Preparedness Innovation, is struggling to place more than 300 million doses, Reuters reported in February. Moderna and Gavi have agreed for up to 650 million doses of the company's vaccine to be made available to COVAX participants through 2021 and 2022. Now, a Gavi spokesperson who earlier confirmed the development said the discussions with Moderna are a part of regular decision-making process on exercising options outlined in our advance purchase agreements with manufacturers. As supply and donation ramped up, some poor nations are, however, facing hurdles such as gaps in cold chain, shortage, vaccine hesitancy, and a lack of funds to support distribution networks. We are in the conversation with manufacturers to align with the magnitude and timing of the country's needs, a Gavi spokesperson said. In sport news, we will zone in on the Nampol's approach to sport, the optimism surrounding Namibian athletics, and some more cricket news. After the break, we return. Happy Wednesday, and thank you very much for watching Sunset News. Namibian Police Force Sports and Recreation Department continues to promote sports by creating platforms where police staff members can showcase their talent. Nampol's Fortune Achab, who is part of Sports Division, says there are several police games currently underway in regions before the big national games later on. Achab also added that the police force is being represented by top boxers, footballers, and athletes, which is a great opportunity for their operation. In our next story, Athletics Namibian President Ervin Naimwaka is optimistic that the future of athletics looks bright and hopes some more athletes can develop into global sensations. Naimwaka has sang his praises to some of the athletes who competed at the Athletics Namibia Senior Championship. He also hopes that those that have not met the required time will continue to improve. Irish A-side cricket tour to Namibia finished with a bang yesterday as the tourists managed to complete a 2-2 draw in the Castlelight one-day series. Thanks to Gareth Delaney's inspired man of the match performance with 104 runs and 5 wickets for 39. Ireland A achieved a 22-run win against Namibia at the Wanderers field. The tourists batted first and reached 257 over 7 with Murray Comes 28, Stephanie Doherty 36, Jeremy Lolo 30 and Captain Neil Rock 26 contributing to Delaney's centuries inning that contained 4 fours and 8 sixes. Now after the break we take a look at tonight's highlights. Stay with us. Welcome back to Sunset News. If you didn't get a chance to catch our top stories tonight, here are some of the highlights. Access to information is a growing international, continental, and regional concern. It is a subject on which African states are increasingly undertaking legislative action with an understanding that freedom of expression is a fundamental human right. This was said by Maria Elago, Deputy Chairperson of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Information, Communication, Technology and Innovation on the presentation of the report on Access to Information Bill to Parliament. Namibia was dealt a hefty blow when the international credit rating agency Moody's downgraded the country to B1. Namibia's rating was already negative before the change, but was considered stable. Today, the Minister of Environment, Forestry and Tourism, Pohamba Shifeta, announced that no more timber will leave Namibia without having been processed. Only furniture products made by benefiting community is allowed to be exported. The money should be kept within the community. And with that, we've come to the end of tonight's broadcast. Please do make sure to join Sunset News on Facebook, on all of any major platforms, on weekdays, as well as on our website, oneup2.com. Now, Sunset News screens on DSTV channel 285, as well as GoTV channel 94 every weekday from 7:30 to 8 p.m. I am Ainara Izakweyo, and this has been Sunset News. Please don't end your day without us. Good night.